Hi there, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Powerstroke Maintenance. Today I'm going to be talking about my biggest complaint with Ford. This will be a short video, but I want to make anyone aware who's thinking about buying one of these trucks or who has one of these trucks at a low mileage already, aware of these issues I've had with Ford. Generally speaking, my truck is mostly stock. I've replaced a lot of the Motorcraft parts with aftermarket stuff, but I still have my EGR, SCR, and DPF, and I'm running the stock Ford transmission and engine tuning. So my warning to potential owners or other owners is what I've found with Ford is that there are certain very specific essential parts for your truck, or somewhat essential parts depending on which ones you're talking about, but they do not have them in stock a lot of the time. The two parts that I've encountered that caused issue, the first one being the CCV box, which I will show you in a minute, and the second one being the track bar for these stock trucks that aren't heavy duty. And now what I found is for someone who wants to take their truck either to a shop or to a dealer, or maybe you're just someone who's not very mechanically inclined and you're trying to get someone to do it on your behalf, it gets pretty tricky to find these certain parts. And it can not be so bad, but like I've had my truck in for various things, but the DEF injector hose was one of them, and the truck sat at the dealer for about 2.5 weeks because they were waiting on the part. Which is, to me, kind of borderline unacceptable, right? You're paying upwards of 50, 60, 70. I mean, sometimes people are paying $100,000 for these trucks and using them for work. And, if the truck's out because you're waiting on a part for 3 weeks, that's gonna cost you quite a bit of downtime. What I have found is that you can often find a lot of these parts on eBay. So if you're willing to do a little digging and try to risk it with an eBay seller, you can find these parts and do it yourself. But oftentimes, these two specific instances in general, one for the CCV box, which is back there, and the other for my track bar, I've gone to approved either Ford dealers like Tasca Parts that do online Ford part sales, or I've gone to actual auto body shops who have called Ford and basically said that the part is out of stock and they have no idea when it's going to be back in stock. This box right back here is not really essential. It's an emissions control component, but it is on there for the crankcase ventilation, so it vents the oil vapor and then condenses it and feeds it back into your intake. And so I wanted to replace that because I didn't know when the last time it had been done on my truck. And I took it to my local garage and they called a couple Ford dealers and were basically told that this new kind of box, the one with no screws that doesn't have a filter in it, that new kind of box was out of stock until further notice, and they had no time estimation of when it was going to be back in stock. So since that happened, I left the stock CCV box on. I haven't had any issues with it, but I've been monitoring it closely and making sure that there's not any oil leaks or I'm not getting an oil smell. Now, the other thing I had a hell of a time finding was this little thing right here, the track bar. And a lot of you have already seen the video where I put a clip up of the top bushing of the track bar and how it's completely smoked. In due time, Ford steering components are junk and you should probably replace them about every 100K. This track bar has 114K on it. So it's, it's overdue for sure. The only thing I would say with this is when I tried to order it from Tasca Parts, they also were like, it's the one for your truck is out of stock. We don't know when it's going to be back in stock. And I'm just over here thinking, like, that's kind of ridiculous to not be able to get a essential, and this is definitely way more essential than the CCV box, but an essential piece of my steering, basically the thing that keeps your axle centered underneath your vehicle. And so between these two things, the CCV box and the drag link, and not being able to get them in a timely manner, I guess I just want to issue a warning to other owners and to people who may be thinking of buying a Ford truck, is that certain parts can be difficult to get your hands on in a timely manner, and it may result in you having to buy aftermarket parts. So I didn't get the the OEM Ford drag link in time, so I ordered the PMF drag link, which was probably better because it's a better link, but I went from spending $150 on an OEM part to spending $500 on an aftermarket part. And so for everyone, that might not be feasible. So just something to keep in mind. You're potentially going to have to go get premium aftermarket parts and pay extra for them if you can't get the Ford parts, because Ford doesn't have them in stock. Seems like the CCV box and the track bar are fairly common replacement parts for these, and in my experience I've had trouble finding the OEM part, you know, and usually if you can find them on eBay with like the CCV box, people are charging a premium for them because there's not a lot of them around. And so, you know, like, I really want to spend $250 to $300 for a CCV box that, you know, is just an oil vapor vent? Like, no, absolutely not. A warning, that is what this video is. And, you know, as you're checking your truck, or if you're not super mechanically inclined, definitely find a mechanic that you trust, because if you're not good, or I should say good with mechanics or mechanically inclined for these things, they will eat you alive, because it is just kind of a never-ending treadmill of maintenance and things that need to be replaced. So that is going to do it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope for you, the viewer, and maybe as an owner of one of these trucks, this video was helpful to you. Just keep an eye out. Parts are super expensive, and also certain ones are hard to come by. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.